Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chandrasekhar, Mr. Krishna Prasad, Mr. This is going to fall apart. Mr. Devendra Reddy, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, I need to be voting. My apologies for running a little late for this evening's meeting. I actually went to the wrong campus of Administrative Staff College. Science of my old age is what I try to defend myself.
Mike, collar Mike.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much for inviting me today. Again, my apologies for being late for the meeting. I went to the wrong campus, as I said a little while earlier. But I'll try to make up by making sure that I won't stay for too long between you and your dinner. When Mr. Chandrasekhar called my office and said, it was an important event that I need to come and speak to you, that's what I do quite often these days. So I didn't hesitate to come and speak to you. But I spent a little more time to think about what should I come and speak to you today. And I thought there could have been, I gave some options to Mr. Chandrasekhar. And we came up with this option, which is talking about AI-driven innovation, which is going to be strengthening organizational agility. So there are three key words that you have to keep in mind, and I will spend some time on all the three words. One is AI, the second one is agility, and the third one is innovation. So what we will do is that the presentation is moving into 5 sections. There are a bunch of slides that are there, but I will try to push them as quickly as I can. The first part is understanding AI. The second part is about impact of AI on jobs and economy, which I'm sure is a key concern many of you have at this point in time. The third one is how AI could be an engine for growth, bringing about both innovation as well as agility in organizations. The fourth one is all about the applications. I'll talk about a few applications and I'll actually bring about a couple of examples that we do on the ground for both our own company as well as our customers around the world. So if you look at what AI is, understanding AI and its capabilities, is basically AI is nothing but it's a combination of diverse technologies, diverse disruptive technologies, diverse emerging technologies at this point in time, because there's several more that will emerge as we go by, that is trying to mimic the human mind. It tries to understand the same thing as what human beings do. It's all about learning, reasoning, problem solving. These are the ones that AI does. So I'm sure one question that comes to everybody's mind, are they close to human beings? No, nowhere close to us. I'll assure you that. You don't need to get worried about it. How long would they take to become as close as the human beings are? Some facets of the human beings, they're very close to us. They actually overtake us. I'll show you a few examples where they're already overtaking human beings at this point of time. But as a comprehensive human being, every facet that you have in your life can be machines do, no way close to it. We think several advancements that are in the near horizon can definitely improve the situation. Can somebody help me take care of this one, please? This is distracting me. It's slipping off from here, and I'm going to be done.
Sir,
Thank you.
collar mic.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to HMA, but I don't mean to be disrespectful to HMA.
Collar mic.
But it was tough for me to handle that. That would be helpful if you can get the collar mic from me.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you very much. So therefore, AI is trying to mimic the human beings in terms of trying to understand how we as human beings do learning, reasoning, problem solving. They're trying to mime us to make sure that they will be as efficient as we can. But equally important is there are two other facets of AI, subsets of it. One is called machine learning. Primarily what it does is it learns all by itself based on data. We'll spend more time on that. What we see at this point of time is the key to growth of AI is all about data, good quality of data, oceans of good quality of data. That's what is required. And so also what we are seeing is that there's a fairly large development in terms of natural language processing. It's come to such a sophistication at this point in time, given, as I said, a mix of several technologies, several diverse technologies. Today we can translate from one language to the other language in real time. I speak in Hindi at one end, you can hear it in English on the other side. And you can speak in English back to me, whereas if I only understand Hindi, I probably can do that. It is also agnostic towards dialects. So that is what's happening with natural language processing. And there is a fairly large project which I'm fairly close to. It's called Bahubhashan, which is being led by IIT Delhi, all right, but there are components of it in IIT Hyderabad, Triple IIT Hyderabad, IIT Madras, and so on and so forth. So that's how the AI is progressing. So if you look at what are the key elements which make this AI so effective, let me call out about 4 or 5 pillars, as I call them, which are absolutely accelerating at a pace never seen before by mankind. The first one is what are called as the sensors. God gave us 5 senses. Our ability to see, our ability to hear, our ability to speak, our ability to feel, and our ability to smell. All those 5 senses today are also available to the computers. And these sensors are becoming smaller, they're becoming more smarter, and they're becoming cheaper. At one point of time, if you look at even camera as a sensor, it's a vision sensor. It takes a picture digitally. And real-time videography is also the same. Look at the cost of a camera at this point of time. My childhood days, a camera was a luxury in life. Taking a picture was called a Kodak moment. Because you can only capture moments of time. Now, what is it? Every one of you in this room is a photographer, right? Every one of you have several cameras. You look at the one, I'm sure, look back at it, you'll find there are 3 cameras, 4 cameras. I'm sure some of you will challenge me saying that, no, Mr. Reddy, I have 5 cameras on my machine. That's what you have. So these are basically the sensors. And so is the case with many others. And some of them are just mind-boggling. Somebody told me the other day that they are in a position to sense the vibration in a bearing by putting a sensor inside. This is not in the recent past. You know, I've been a little more smarter in the last, say, 5-7 years on sensors. So I asked them this question, saying, where does the power come to this sensor? Can people answer me? Where does the power come to a sensor which is sitting inside a bearing? Somebody is smart? Heat, vibration, self-generating, therefore. The rotation gives, I believe, the power to it. So therefore, you don't need to even have power anymore. It generates power on its own. And what is it doing? Sensing the motion and then sending you the signals. Let me move on. What is the second one thereafter? Is what does these sensors do? They put in oceans of data, 50 plus years back. And about 2,000 students used to use the computers those days, because this is a novelty, the first time. You know, everybody, and how do we go and use the computer? Stand in line with your cards of deck, with your program, submit it. So that, you know, it gets processed. They give you an output, which is a piece of paper back to you. And this was at 2,000 people used to use the same computer system. And what was the size of what was the computer? It was an IBM 744. What was the size of the computer? It used to occupy 4 times this room. And there used to be a water fountain in front of the computer center. And people like me were amazed in the early days, looking at how the water fountain or the water danced in the fountain. I used to say it's a marvel of an architecture. But what is the function of that water fountain? It was cooling the computer. That's the amount of heat it produced. But what is the power of the computer? It is less than what you have in your palm, in your bag, in your wallet. So that's how the transformation has happened. From 2,000 people servicing, it's more powerful today. It doesn't stop there. CPU, you must have heard about, central processing unit, the heart of a computer. That's become faster and faster. But to support it, there's something called GPU, which has come by, graphic processing unit. It does all of this graphics that's required because you see amazing pictures, right? Amazing graphics, amazing manipulation of pictures. How are you in the position to drag and drop, enlarge? All that is not, the CPU doesn't do the job, the GPU does the job. And then now they're talking about TPUs, tensile processing units, where TPUs are very specifically now being designed for AI. So this machine already has a CPU and a GPU. Very soon it will get a TPU too. In the absence of TPU, you still will use a CPU, GPU to process, which people believe as a result of which machines are slowing down. So therefore, there doesn't seem to be slowing down. And then comes quantum. Whereas now we think there is, if you look at the basic of computing, what does it have? It has addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And what does it do? One step at a time, transaction by transaction. It might be doing billions and billions of transactions, but one transaction at a time. But if you fast forward into quantum computing, you now have matrix of transactions simultaneously being done. It's by n matrix. Multiply to an n matrix, you can see the speed that will come by. So to support this further, you also require storage. Where do you keep all this? And the storage is also improved considerably. I used to sell computers way back in 1980s. I used to work for this company called HCL. It's Hindustan Computers Limited those days. And we used to tell people, this is the end of the world, 80 kilobyte floppy disk drive, the small one. Or the big one, which is the end of life, was 256 KB floppy disk drive. Look at that small device that's sitting there. That's a 256 GB. It's not KB became an MB, became a GB thereafter. That's the pace at which technology has changed. And as a result of all these technologies which have progressed so well, what we are seeing is that you can now write whatever you had as algorithms into computer programs, which will then make sure that they mimic the human beings. So it is basically what finally comes out is our ability to take the data, source the data, transmit the data, store the data, process the data. But what processing are you doing? Is basically you're writing algorithms. And that is all about AI. And as a result of these algorithms, you're now in a position to learn. The algorithms learn from what the data is sending you. You're in a position to seamlessly recognize patterns. Pattern recognition has become a very simple thing for the computer systems now. So that is how AI is progressing. But by now, therefore, you must have got convinced that AI is the thing for all of us. We'll come to applications. It's come to stay. But more importantly, it doesn't stop here. It is nowhere near its destination. Our belief is that it's only still in very initial stages. We think that there is a lot more to unwind itself as we see future. Let me look at the impact on jobs and economy. Pardon me, I could have got the heading wrong. Sorry about that. But what is it is, I wanted to tell you a little more about AI. because many of you must be getting more interest in AI, especially because the recent past there's something called Chat GPT or OpenAI. There's several more products that have come to market. So, how many of you use Chat GPT? Very good, very impressed. Thank you. And that's how I think we all of us have to do. Those of you who haven't put up their hands, I would strongly recommend that you do it because it certainly is helping mankind in becoming more productive. If it's going to be more productive, why not use it? I use it very often, and I think my productivity has gone up. I did the back of the envelope calculation in the recent past. I think I've become 30% more productive. So why not is what the question is. So here is the Chat GPT or the AI itself. Go back one more step. AI, the amount of influence it has in the world is it's a general purpose technology. Our belief is that it will have such a profound impact like electricity. Electricity did not have any bounds of which industry it went to. It went to every nook and corner of the world. It went to nook and corner of every industry. So is the case with AI. Certainly what we're seeing is more amount of sectors being now captured. You can challenge me with any sector. I'll give you an example of how AI is being used. Whether it's healthcare, it's logistics, it's retail, it is BFSI. You can name them. There are use cases at this point of time. And certainly what we see is, in this particular case, the transition and adaptation is much, much faster. Let me show you a little more about what's happening with AI. I'm sorry if people can't really see this very clearly. It's an interesting slide that I have. I'm a little worried that I'm running out of time. So therefore, what does this slide tell you? Is the first attempt to bring AI into this world was done in 1997, 1998. And what was the two initiatives that people started off is handwriting recognition and speech recognition. These are two things that were there. So in 1997, we keep saying, what was the efficiency of AI compared to human beings? It was 0%. So by the time it became 100%, where I'm sure many of you use Siri or Alexa, and you find that it recognizes you very well, and I'm sure many of you use your phones for dictation, and it's almost there, 99% of the time it's right in my voice. I'm sure it's true with any one of you and every one of you for that matter. So it almost came to about 2016 before it came to a level of 100% efficiency of human beings. So which means that it took as many as about 18 years to 20 years before people said it's 100% efficiency. Whereas now you look at ChatGPT, which is the ability to comprehend and concise and put it back to you. That took just 18 months. And what is making this happen? Pardon me, it's not visible, but this is the blog that you have here, which talks about the elements that I just now called out. Computers, communication, storage, sensors. These are the ones which made the speed possible at this point in time. And we're all computer people. But one of the biggest threats we have at this point of time is that the computers can do coding once you give the specification to the level of 70% efficiency. And more importantly, if you look at adaptability of this technology, the AI, it took, what is the number that I had? Aerospace, to get their first 50 million passengers, it took 60 years across the world. Aerospace industry took 60 years to get their first 50 million passengers. ChatGPT took 5 months to get their 100 million users. That's how the adaptability speed is on. So what does happen to workforce? This is a Goldman Sachs report, which says that in year that they're talking about, 2024, fewer number of people said that the labor will not be impacted. A large number of people said, it will be unchanging. Whereas if you fast forward for next 5 years, this is a CEO survey that was done by Goldman Sachs. They say a majority of them, as many as 80% of people are saying that lower amount of labor will be required. Number of jobs will be fewer. Fewer in the current scenario. I'm not talking about new jobs that are being created. I'll come to that in a minute. And they're saying, therefore, unchanged labor needs, very small percentage, less than 10% say, I'll continue to have the same amount of people in my organization. To the extent that it's become so intense at this point in time, Salesforce, which is one of the most widely used package, it's called salesforce.com. I don't know if any of you use that piece of software. It's extraordinary software and an extraordinary success story. Salesforce today are saying that they have a chat GPT agents that are there, chat bots they are called, and they will start charging $2 for use of their chat bot for every transaction. So because it is as good as a human being, it does effective work. So chat bots will replace people who are going to be answering questions for you as we go into time. So this is how the impact is likely to be. And I want you to pay attention to the three things that we have here on the top. The first one is there's high potential of automation. Our belief is about 28% or 30% of jobs will disappear in the next 5 years, what we do today. These are very low-end jobs, like computer operators, data processing operators, technicians maintaining computers. I can go on like this, which are back office bank processors, ledger postings. These are the people who very repetitive in nature, no intelligence that's required. But what is very important is there is an element of 43% which is augmentation. That is, it will help people, it will touch you, it will help you in terms of becoming a lot more productive. And the third part of it, the second part is the higher potential augmentation is preparing information or instruction materials. That's, it will be helping us. For example, the presentation that we are seeing at this point of time. In the good old days, what would I have done this way in which it was done? I would call my executive assistant, tell this young lady, saying that, I have an appointment to talk at a event in HMA. And, we'll discuss about a few topics that have to come by. That's half an hour conversation. Thereafter, I'll say, okay, let's pick this one. And then say, these are the elements I'd like to see in my presentation under half an hour conversation. And thereafter, she would disappear for the next 2 days or 3 days. Come back to the presentation, and you would say, I like this, I don't like this, you add this, you delete this. Again, she disappears for another 1 day. Comes back again. Very efficient young lady she was. What do I do today? I sit on my co-pilot. I work with my co-pilot, instantaneous. It doesn't matter. I'm not feeling sleepy at this point of time. I want to work on the presentation. I do that right now. So therefore, it's nothing called, there's no time for it. There's no tiresomeness for it. Neither of the two things are true when you're working on the augmentation that's happening. What is it? It's my job is not gone, but I'm being helped better. My EA's job has not gone still. She's still around. But her role is completely redefined. So what we see is that the roles will change. Don't get overly worried, but people have to skill themselves. We'll come to that momentarily. And then the last part of it is there are coordination with others and communication which has to be on the fly. Those are the ones 28% will not be impacted. So therefore, what we see is roles which are declining, which are telemarketing, data entry, and so on and so forth. We see that there is stable augmentation. Same jobs will be there, but will get augmented, which basically means that they'll become more efficient. And the third one is there'll be growth in automation and augmentation. If you look at mathematician, actuaries and statisticians, they get far more augmented. So therefore, the sum total is there will be an impact on jobs, impact on roles more important than jobs. And I didn't have that slide, but what we saw here earlier is this one, which talked about how many jobs will be impacted in United States. This is the US numbers. About 11 million jobs will be augmented, about 2 million jobs will be disappearing. That's what it says. But the overall, this slide does not have the data, and I seem to have missed the other one, is overall we think there'll be about 84 million jobs that will disappear by 2030. But there'll be 94 million new jobs that will get created. So net new is only going to be 10 million more jobs that will come by. So we as human beings should not be overtly worried that technology is overtaking us. More newer jobs will come by. The only thing is that the skills will be different. Skills required for these jobs are going to be far different from what we have seen so far. So what will be the impact on the economy? We are certainly seeing more amount of automation, an ability to take decisions much faster. I take objection to people who use this word. This is an information technology world. It's no more information technology world. We're not gathering information. The systems are now taking decisions for you. That's what is happening. So it's a decision-making environment using technology. So I insisted that even NASCOM today does not call itself as a ITES association. They call themselves the Technology Association, Technology Enabling Association. So we will see enormous amount of impact on because of decision making. There will be more amount of innovation, primarily because you have enormous amount of information with you, and you have co-pilots who are assisting you in decision making. And then we also see there is productivity improvement. As a result of it, there's enough evidence to say the global GDP will grow by about 1.2%. That's somewhere in the range of about $5 trillion. That's it says I think $3.9 trillion in US itself is the growth that you will see in GDP. So the sum total of the story, as I have the second part of this presentation, is that this is just start point for AI. More new jobs will be created, but people have to ensure that they reskill themselves to ensure that they augment in the current environment that are there. But globally, the economies will improve sizably because of these technologies. Let me see how it impacts organizations. So organizations in this current world have to be more innovative than what it was in the past. Why so? Is because so much amount of change is happening. There's so much amount of disruption that's happening. The only way that you can keep yourself within the system is you become disruptive too. It is not large company, it is not small company. Every company has to become disruptive, and disruption comes out of innovation. You don't need to be an innovator, but look at what technologies are there. Think about solutions which are better than what have been offered by others. So therefore, in the AI world, with so much amount of data that's coming, so much amount of decision support systems that are coming to you, our ability to innovate has increased. Our ability to innovate is increased in an environment which requires agility. Agility is a framework that people talk about. And to my company, for instance, we call it an agile culture, AGILIE. Ambitious, growth-oriented, innovative, leadership-driven entrepreneurship culture. I can spend an hour on that, but I don't intend to do that. So therefore, what is required at this point of time is, in the current environment that we are, ability to move faster compared to your competition. Our ability to, how do you move faster, is to innovate. And how do you bring about the speed and innovation together is through AI. So what are we seeing adoption rates? Right now, the last statistic I know was 37% of the companies around the world already have adopted AI. So if you have not done one, I have not seen some of the hands going up for ChatGPT, I would very strongly recommend start using them. Then go to various applications in various different industries. I just called out 3 of them for the general purpose nature. I'll call out a few more as we move forward and tell you a little more about the few applications that I do. We are seeing enormous amount of usage in healthcare, in finance, in customer engagement. Look at healthcare, customer, enhance the diagnostics, personal treatment, streamline the operations in hospitals. I met some of the best doctors, fortunately for good reasons, not for any other reason. I have interest in talking to doctors using technology. And of all the people, I met a Korean doctor who is a dermatologist. And he said he's got his co-pilot, it's an AI co-pilot. And I asked him, how does it help him? He says, Mr. Reddy, I'm seeing 3 times the patient I used to see in the past. He has the first station where there's a station where pictures are taken, because dermatology is all to do with skin. The pictures are the key thing, vision. And the moment the vision pictures are, by the time, in 10 minutes, I believe, the patient walks up to his desk, he already has 3 options. He says, I've done blindly 2,000 cases, and invariably, the computer comes up with the right answer as the first option. So now he says, I don't even need to spend so much time thinking about it. I look at the first option, correlate my decision based on the presentation of the patient, and finally come out to say, this is the disease that you have, or this is the rash you have, and this is the, and then you have the ability to also prescribe the right medication thereafter. It's again, AI is trying to do that. And AI has gone to a level, all of us, if you see, are taking one medication, one headache. Doctor says, go and use Trosin. And I'll just say, that's what it is, painkiller. But for all you know, each one of us have a headache, which is going to be completely different as far as the root cause is concerned. So therefore, you have to get into a mode of personalized medicine. And that is what AI is doing, personalized care that goes by. And today, if you look at the streamlining operations, there are centers around the world. You have absolutely contactless reaching of the doctor. You go, you register yourself, there's a touch screen, you put your name, etc. And then you also share with them. I actually saw one at even AIG in very initial stages. They're also putting a chatbot at this point of time for the patient to talk to the chatbot, explaining what problems the patient has. It analyzes it. By the time you get in front of a doctor, it already has part of your diagnostics. So is the case of finance. We're seeing sizable amount of process automation that happens. You now have automated bots which are trading on the floor, and at times it creates trouble. But that's because largely the data which is inaccurate. It's not because of human interventions that happen. It's not the algorithm failure that happens. It's largely because of the data failures. And we're also seeing, as a result of this enormous amount of usage of computers, you have challenges with cybersecurity. There are lots of frauds that are happening. But there are AI engines at this point of time running in the background to also make sure that the frauds are detected. I run two publicly, I don't run, sorry, I'll take that back. I am on the board of 2 publicly traded companies, which I'm the founder of. And the parent company, which is called CYIENT, this is the quarter, we announced the results for the last quarter. Next week is our quarterly board meetings. You should see amount of cyber threats we get. They go by a 10x factor, which means somehow people want to get into the system to understand what their financial numbers are like. So therefore, that is a big challenge that we have in terms of fraud detection. And then let me move on in interest of time to customer experience, the chatbots. And I've seen seamless experience on an airline ticket booking. I'm sure some of you must have experienced going onto a website and trying to book your tickets. You don't even need to touch your keyboard. You just keep talking to the machine. You bring a chatbot on, it gives you all the options. You talk to it, and it seamlessly takes care of you to say, here is what you need to pay. You indicate your number, credit card number. It takes care of you. You want to change. In the past, you would say, call the airline company. It used to keep on waiting. call waiting. Music and music and music. That's an endless amount of music. Then after the girl comes on the line, then she says, look, I need to check with my supervisors. Again, music comes back, as if, we were dying of hearing her music. But what is it today? It's not true any longer. You wait for a few seconds here and there. It's a complex problem that's not repeatable. Then it becomes a challenge in terms of reaching out to a agent, a physical agent. What do we see thereafter is, of course, in manufacturing, the number of applications where there is enormous amount of gain that are happening. I'll talk a little more as we move forward, especially in predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance, preventive maintenance at this point of time. AI is helping us considerably. So also are the applications in quality control and supply chain optimization. We're seeing RPAs, as much as we talked about chatbots, which are local, we have also got robotic process automation. You walk into Tesla's factory in the Bay Area, somewhere in Mountain View, and you'll find very few people. The whole thing is all robotic process. There's a car coming in, the engine comes in at that point in time. You see, don't see the engine till the car chassis moves in there. And the car goes down, and then this comes out, and you'll see these robots turning around 360 degrees, not in XY direction. They can dance all around, they will do all the nuts and bolts, tightening them. And you should see the paint shop. And I think in an assembly line which assembled a car from chassis down to paint shop, I saw no more than about 10 people working on it. So that's the level of automation. And this is all through AI. Of course, the car is an AI animal by itself. I won't get into that. So therefore, how do you build agility? There are many methodologies people use. The three things that you need to see. How do you reach out the market faster, which is agility, through innovation, using AI methodologies. So the key principles, I want you to take this back home with you, is to say that the three things I have that we move forward is, number one, is that you need to have data infrastructure. If you want to be AI-driven company, you need to understand what data you need to collect and how well you need to collect, and how well you store it. It's not data that you will say that you can, it will live somewhere. No, that's unstructured data. Unless you plan your data, you get good quality of data, only then you will take good decisions. So data infrastructure is very important. The second, which is equally important, is the skilled workforce. I think this is one of the key challenges we have. And because I keep saying that today technology is changing and we can't stop it from changing. You have to constantly change, therefore. You have to constantly learn, therefore. So your technicians, your skilled workforce that is there is good, but they have to be adaptable to learn continuously. So learning is not any longer one-time effort. One degree doesn't take you too far. One degree takes you only for the first job, is what I keep saying. And thereafter, if you want to grow in the organization or you look for your next job, you need to learn. So learning has become continuous. But here is the cliche. But learning today is also become easy. I go back to my good old days in IIT Kanpur. I had an intent to learn. I went to the library. I didn't find a book. I went to the librarian. And she told me, I just gave the book out, Mohan. It won't be available for you for next 2 weeks. So I had an intent to learn, and I still waited for 2 weeks. You never know what happens 2 weeks later. I have an intent to learn. I can learn now. I keep saying I lost the 2 words called waiting, boredom in my life. Whatever interests me at that point of time, content is available to me online. Available at any point of time, not for misusing, for using it for my benefit. So therefore, you have to definitely look at skilled workforce. And the third one is you need to build this culture of innovation. That's something which is important. I think historically, because of, I'm defending myself, defending this whole country, whatever reasons are, the way in which learning itself went to us is rote learning, I keep saying. that we by hearted. And then, it was information that was stored with us. And you had a question paper which was giving you a chance to vomit what you had as information. You never thought about it. So ability to do critical thinking, design thinking, holistic thinking is not something which is part of our training so far. But what is required in this change environment at this point of time, our ability to challenge the status quo, our ability to take risks. That is what innovation is all about. Very simple. One of my favorite examples, let me share that in a minute, 740. In a minute, and as quickly as I can, is we had the same challenge about 10, 15 years back. How do we translate the culture of the company to become more innovation driven? And so we were racking our brains. And one day I walked into one of our centers of excellence, they are called. These are basically, say, 200 people, 300 people who sit in large halls of 4 times the size. So you walk into the place and I looked at all the 4 walls. And what was there? There were quality control certificates on one wall, maybe a picture hanging here, there, etc. We said, here is an opportunity to exploit it. So what did we do? We painted one of the walls, and the wall was called Ideas Tree. It was a tree which was painted. And then we had the stick-on paper, postage stamps, in the shape of a leaf in the reception area, in the entry point, and they could pick up a leaf and write their idea and put it on the tree. It would stick on the tree. And every week, we plucked the leaves of the tree, took it to the back office, processed them, and if they went past the gate, the color of the leaf was changing. If it became something substantial, it became a red apple. It is much more rarer, it gave a lot more money, it became a green apple. Everybody was rewarded. If your color from green, it turned yellow as a leaf, this guy was getting 2 hours off to doing his own innovation. It's become such a movement in the company, it's no more possible for us to have a physical tree. So it's all become digital at this point of time. And amazing are the results that we have seen. So now they get $100,000 grant if they have a very strong, solid idea which went past the gate of several managers. So that is how you bring in a cultural change. Need not be that amount of money that I'm talking about, but think about the shift that has to happen. So 3 things to me are important, which are on the slide. Number 1 is make sure that you have a good data infrastructure. You think about what data you want to do. And the second one is make sure that your people are skilled. And the third one is you bring in this culture of innovation into the company. Well, I'll skip these in the interest of time. So what are the challenges typically? One is that people have challenge saying that there's lack of experience, technical expertise especially. There's concerns about data, how data privacy is. I'm very concerned about some of them, especially at the hospitals, etc., where you're collecting an enormous amount of data. But this is all private data of individuals, and one has to be extremely careful in terms of data privacy. So you need to, the way in which you can get over is partnership with tech firms or invest, and the other one is investing in training programs. Lessons is small, and think about iterative improvements. Don't go for the big kill, certainly. And the third one is measure the performance constantly. What did you think? We as in the company, we call them as measure to manage processes. Everything that can be measured has to be measured. Once it's measured, it's compared. Once it's compared, if there's a deviation, you do relentless root cause analysis, RRCA, to find what's the reason for the deviation. You know the reason, you have a strategy to fix it. Once you fix it, you go back and measure it again and see how the deviation is. Are you performing better? Are you performing worse? So if you do this iterative process, one could do much better. Here is what I have done, a few examples, and I'll stop thereafter. One is that we have an AI engine which is running for hiring people. We roughly hire about 1,000 people every year, 1,000 freshers. Given the attrition levels that are there, there'll be another 1,000 of non-freshers who get hired. those don't go through this particular process. So an AI engine selects people to the level that only when the appointment orders are handed over, we first see the candidate. We used to think about, oh, the big branded institutions, we should go for interviews. We stopped doing that. We then thought about saying that we'll adopt some institutions and develop them. We stopped doing that. Because we are saying, look, the talent will anyway come to us if they're there, irrespective of which college they belong to, which region they belong to, which geography they belong to. So that's one that is doing very well with us. We have a chatbot which runs on productivity. If you want to say, what's the leave rule that's there? You don't need to go and search somewhere. You put your question saying that I want to combine my sick leave with my casual leave. Can I do it? It gives you a right answer. It brings you up on the screen, which is the rule which says it can't be done. Or if you want to know about how your leave profile is, or you are saying that how is my team doing in terms of leaves? So all people leave profiles are coming in. So you will clearly see who takes more leaves in your team. You don't need to keep a track of them any longer. So these are the chatbots which are running. And several more case studies that we have. All of us use Microsoft Copilot. But equally important is what we do for our customers. So we also have the ability to we work on these industries. We have got several applications for generative AI in process, manufacturing. We do a lot of work in signaling and rail signaling. And then there is automotive industry. One of my favorite examples in the recent past is one of the, I should still say one of the, though they are the largest, I believe, oil refineries in the world. We recently implemented a ChatGPT implementation on preventive maintenance. And what is it like? If you want maintenance, there's a maintenance crew. I'm sure many of you belong to mechanical industry or process industry. A crew will go all around, see what's working, what's not working. If there is some vibration which is higher, then he'll go and complain to his boss complains to somebody else, and then the crew comes, spare parts are not there, the wrong crew goes there. All that is a past. It just continuously, there are cameras which are taking pictures at the vantage points. And the videos that are coming in are being processed at the back end. And if there is anything which is outside the tolerance limits, immediately it flags out. Flags out, thereafter, if you say, oh yeah, I can see it, there's a leak that's happening with steam. It also understands what is the equipment that's running there. It understands which is the manufacturer. It understands what the size of the pipe is. It knows which is the crew which is trained in handling that particular piece of equipment, that piece of pipe. So it's scheduling at this point of time that crew to go to that location to go and fix it. I hesitate to share the productivity improvements, but the fact of life is 35% of people got laid off in the company after the AI came in. Laid off from that particular role, they're being retrained. So again, don't get overly worried about jobs. Here is the last, so therefore we have a number of them. Here is my last comment, last example. There's an interesting picture that you can go and surf around in the web, which is taken, this picture, which is 1908, I believe, or 1907, 1908. It's about, it's a picture from a vantage point of Fifth Avenue of New York. And so if you look at the street is full of horse-driven buggies. There are only two little cars and tiny cars that run through corners. 10 years later, the same vantage point, they went and take the same picture. And what they found, the street is now full of cars. There are a few buggies here and there. I keep saying the horses were never killed, and the horsemen did not die of starvation. They moved on. They reskilled themselves. And that's the message I have with AI too. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I was told there are questions and answers by 7:50, and I will leave it to the organizers at this point. Yes, sir.